Hi, it's Robbie from Southern California. Let me tell you a story how I started making these tomato cages. I was out exercising like I usually do, and I was trying to do the hula hoop. I'm making hula hoops now out of the irrigation tubing, but I just couldn't do it like I used to do it when I was 10 years old. So I started doing the arm ones. I figured it would be exercising, and I'd spin and spin and spin, and of course, it didn't work out as great, and it went up in the air and it landed. And when I went around to see where it landed, lo and behold, it had landed on a tomato plant that I was getting ready to set up in my chair garden. And all of a sudden, wow, the light bulb went off. I now have tomato cages that cost me pennies to make. Instead of $10, $20, $30 a tomato cage, I've got a great tomato cage that cost me 30 cents. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. So this is my chair garden that I grow tons of vegetables in each year. All kinds of stuff, cucumbers, watermelon, tomatoes, eggplant, all kinds of different things. Zucchini grows in here. And I'm going to show you all year as we continue on the different ways I use my irrigation tubing. This is going to have a trellis full of tomato plants. This is going to have watermelon, very much like last year. But today I'm going to show you how to make a tomato cage, because you can get a good tomato cage and it can cost you anywhere from $20, $30. You can literally make it for like 30 cents, under $1, depending on how you want to make it. So the first thing we're going to do is go in, and I'm going to show you exactly how to make the hoops. I had a method of sliding a piece of wire in and then just tying the wire, and I had hoops. But Gary showed me one day that you could just cut the piece of tubing, and you'll see exactly how I do it. It slides in, and you know what? It was easier that way, and I like the formation of the hoop doing it that way. You could do it whatever way you want. So let's do the hoops, and then we'll get right into how to put this tomato cage together so you can make it the size you need for your garden. Then we'll get into the other method on how to do it this way, because there are so many different ways to use this irrigation tubing. So now we're going to make hoops. What you're going to do is make sure you get the measurement that you want. Now I'm just putting these two tubes together. I've got the measurement. I'm going to cut the other one so they're both exactly the same. But you can do it with a measuring tape if you want instead. So I've got two pieces exactly the same. So I know I can keep going once I'm done with one of my tubes. Now I just need another piece off of this. It can be 5 inches, 4 inches, 6 inches. I usually go about 6 inches. And I cut a piece off. This is not off the one that was the same size, a separate piece. Now you're going to cut up the middle. And what you're going to do is make a split tube. So it's not going to be circular anymore as far as sealed, closed ring. It's going to be a split ring, a split tube. So here is the tubing that we're going to insert. See how it's been split? And what you want to make sure it's rolling in the same direction on the entire length. Whether it's 4 inches, 6 inches, it doesn't matter. It's got to roll the same direction. That's the main thing. Okay, now you're going to insert it into the tubing that's going to be your hoop. See how it will slip in now because it's split? Now you just push it in. It's going to give a good snug fit, which is really good. Now you have to bring around the other side. See how it's rolling in the same direction? You just push it in and that's it, you're done. You now have a hoop. Now you've got your hoops. You can make as many as you want. I'm going to show you how to make a tomato cage or a tomato trellis, and you can use it for cucumbers, watermelons, whatever you want. Let's get in and see how to put this together so fast. So now I've got my hoops. Now I'm going to show you how I set up my hoops, but keep in mind you can do it a little differently or whatever way is going to work for you. I use a hot soldering iron. If you want, you can use a drill, but I always find this easier. I make sure the hole goes through on both sides. So you push it through on one side, you'll see where the point came through, and you push it through on the other. Now you can always go back if the hole isn't big enough and make it bigger later on. Now I'm only going to put 2 stakes on this. I'm going straight across diagonally on this hoop. If you were going to do 3, then you would figure out where you want to place your 3 holes. But right now I'm only going to use 2. It supports good enough for me, but again, you can use 2 stakes, 3 stakes, even 4 stakes if you want, depending on how big your tomato plant is or your container. Okay, so now we've gone through. And I've already put 2 hoops on, so you'll see I'm going to slide the last one on. And now I just push the hoop on that we made with the irrigation tubing. There it is on one side. Now we just turn it around
and we're going to put it through on the other side. It is the easiest thing to do. Just push it in. And like I said, if the hole's not big enough, you can always go back and make it a little bit bigger. But it gives, so you can usually push it through. And there I've got my 3 hoops, very similar to any tomato cage. Look at that, and your vertical gardening. You can use this for anything. There it is. And we can make it taller if you need it as the plants grow. But you can use it for tomatoes, cucumbers, anything you want, even zucchini. Isn't this something? And it didn't cost much. These 3 hoops cost about $1. That's it. Now all I had to do is push it in place where I wanted it, and there it is. Now let's get on to the other ways we can do this. Now here I'm putting in 2 tomato stakes and a stick, which is a bamboo stick, to show you you don't have to use tomato stakes if you don't have them. And I'm putting on painter's tape. Now I'm using the blue here so you can see what I'm doing, and I kind of just wrapped it around the tubing. See, stuck it, tape to tape. And now I've got those 2 wings, those 2 tags there that I could put the ring on the stake where I need it. And I did kind of measure it up by eye where to put it. So this way you kind of have it in the right spot. And then I just taped it on. I'm going to say here real quick that I prefer the green. It's much better and it lasts longer, but they sent me the blue once in an order because they were out of green and I don't find it as good. String, yarn, wire, you could do the same thing. You don't even need tape. Just tie your rings in place where you want them and it will stay really nice and secure. Isn't that simple? You can put it on whatever way works for you. And you step back and look at it and you think, you know what? If you don't like the way it looks, don't worry, because when the plants grow, you're not going to see much of it anyways. And look at this. This is another way. Just kind of put the tape on. This is the green, my favorite. This is a frog tape. It's a masking tape, a painter's tape, and it lasts for years. Look at that. And you just put it on and it stays put. The easiest thing to work with in your garden. Look at how nice it looks. And like I said, once the plants grow, all you're going to see is your plants. Isn't that cool? Now I have another tip. If you think the hoops are not real snug, I'll show you how you can make it real secure right here. If you feel that you want a little more security on your hoop that you made, you can do this. It's very simple. Take a hot soldering iron and make a hole all the way through. This is going to go through the insert that you put in there as well as the outside hoop, okay, the tubing. Now, once you get that hole, make sure it's cool, you can put through a nice zip tie. I use ones now that are a little thicker. They'll last for years. And you can just pull the zip tie. Now you know that end cannot possibly slip out unless you cut the zip tie. So it's going to be nice and strong there and you just cut it off. The other way that you could do it is do the same thing, make a hole all the way through and make sure it goes through on both sides. It usually does, but I like sometimes flipping it to make sure the hole is big enough. And you can use any wire you've got, whatever works for you. And then you can twist it. Now here, I'm not going to take the wire off in case I want to use it to twist onto something later. You can also use it this way to twist onto tomato stakes or whatever you've got in mind. So these are just a couple options to make sure it doesn't come apart if you feel you want something a little stronger. So the great thing about this is these are custom. So if you have a real big garden, you can make your hoops much bigger. You can make them smaller on the bottom and bigger as they get to the top. If you have a little tiny garden or small containers, you can make them smaller. You can make them to fit your garden. And it's literally going to cost you pennies, depending on what size irrigation tubing you get, whether they're all 1/2 inch, but it could be 500 feet, 100 feet, or 50. And that makes a difference when it comes to buying it. But again, so it's going to be 20 cents a foot instead of 10 if you only get 50 feet. But you buy what you need. It's the best thing to work with, and it's the easiest thing. And that green tape, it lasts a long time. Look at this, over a year old on those bends I made last year, and they're still holding strong. So I suggest get the green painter's tape. I think you'll be happier, as the blue is too much like paper. And well, for Gary, I think he was really happy and he was jumping for joy that I used one of his ideas instead of mine. And you'll see him in a second. With that, have a wonderful day. I hope I gave you some things to think about for your gardening this year, and you will make things easier. Have a great day, and don't forget to eat what you grow. And like I said, Gary was really into it.
make your toy.
That's what I can't do that. I'll figure out something. I just can't believe I can't do it because I thought I
Like,
did
you
it.
know those dances where they have people standing behind each other and the arms
Oh
go
yeah.
out?